So after the case of a while loop, which is indefinite, we look at the for loop. With the for loop, you actually know the number of times that you're going to run your piece of code. Okay. So the for loop, very similar to your while loop. It comprises of the for keyword. You have a space, and then you give a variable name. This is very important. Here you're saying for I in this range. It does not necessarily have to be I. You can give it any name. You can say for number in this range, for numeral in this range, for my information in this range. You give your variable any name that you want. Okay. It's going to represent each value within your range or each value within your sequence. So for loop is usually very useful when you have a list of things or when you have a bunch of results that you're looking at. Okay. So now the in keyword is also important, and an iterable. An iterable is what you have at the end of the header in your compound for statement. What is an iterable? An iterable is any object that you can iterate over, that you can count over. So it's anything that belongs to a collection per se. So we haven't talked about collections now. We'll talk about them next week in our next class, but that will definitely make more sense. But in a collection, you have a fixed size. You have a particular number. You know the number of elements in your collection. So if you have a World Cup that was played in Qatar, there are 24 teams. So you have an idea. You know that for every team, I'm going to maybe print the name of the team, or print the captain of the team, or print the team's goalkeeper or the team's coach. So in that case, you know that this is the number of times that this particular iteration is going to run, or this particular loop is going to run. That's why a for loop is definite. Okay. If you're looking at the class, the class is 80 students. You want to print out the names of each student in the class. Then you can say for student in class, whether class is a collection, a list, a set, a dictionary, whatever collection that we'll talk about shortly, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So obviously it's a compound statement, so it ends with a colon. And then just like the while loop, just like the if statement that we talked about yesterday, you get to execute all the codes within the indentation in the body of the loop. If, well, in this case, it's not a condition. You get each single one of your elements in the collection and execute that code for each item in the iterable. Okay. So it's also straightforward like that. We'll look at a few examples shortly. But yeah, nested loops, you can also have loops within loops. You can decide and say, okay, for all the states in the US, you want to do a particular execution. Now for each state, you want to also loop over each state and print maybe the capital of the state. And for each capital, maybe you want to print the head of the capital, the mayor or something like that. So, or the number of schools that they have in that capital, and so on and so forth. So just like you can nest if statements, you can also nest loops, whether it's a while loop or a for loop and so on. But always remember that loops are very useful in collections. We'll talk more about that next time we look at it, but it's very, very, very useful for us to be able to do all our computations. Sounds good? Next up, next thing we need to talk about, maybe I should actually, before I do that, maybe I should actually show an example of the for loop, just like I did with the while loop, just that. So let's execute a while loop, sorry, a for loop this time around. So what would be a good example for a for loop? For a for loop, let's go ahead and start by creating a list. I know this is not going to make sense to you now, but a list in Python is usually enclosed in square brackets. Okay, in square brackets, and then you can have a list of items. In this case, I'm going to have a list of foods. Okay, so hopefully everybody is okay with ego, and then we can also make sure we have achu, and then we can also make sure we have rice. Let's make it fried rice, and let's try fufu corn. No, fufu corn is too much. How about cookie? Awesome. So now we have 4 different food stuff. Is there any other food that I'm missing? Anyone needs us to add it on there?
Water fufu.
There's already ego. You want to add water fufu in there? Okay. Let's make sure we have ego and water fufu, achu, and yellow soup. I'm making sure for the children, obviously I can spell fried rice and chicken, cookie and plantains, and let's call kati kati. Awesome. So now we have a bunch of different food stuff. Let's make this smaller. There you go. Now we can see everything. Now, if we want to do a for loop, we start with the for keyword, and then we give a name of a variable, that's going to hold each one of these food stuff in here. So let's just say chop, for each chop, right, in foods. So it's going to go into that foods list and pick each one of them and do something to it. What we want to do here is just basic. We want to just print it. So what we should print is the chop. And that's it. Or we can say, I like whatever the food is. So if I execute this, I like egg water fufu, I like achu and yellow soup, I like fried rice and chicken, I like cookie and plantains, I like kari kati. So that's how you keep executing it. Now we know the number of items in this list, so it tells us that's the number of times that this particular line of code is going to execute. Sounds good to everyone? Awesome, awesome, awesome. So that's as simple as that when you look at while loops and for loops. For the while loop, we don't really know how many times it's going to run because we don't know if this guy is going to enter 1, 10, 20, whatever they enter. That's going to determine how many times it runs. Okay, so for loop is definite because we know how many times it's going to run, but while loop is indefinite. You want to make sure you avoid having an infinite loop. Okay, so avoid infinite loops.
So chop becomes a variable that we are assigning to the items input.
Exactly, excellent. So that's what chop is right now. Chop is each one of these. The first time we execute our code, chop is going to be Ego Amatafufu. We go in and we print that. The next time you go to the next iteration, chop is now Achu and yellow soup. You go ahead, you print it. And then you go on to the next item on the list. You keep doing that over and over until you get to the end of the list. And then you get out of it. You can go ahead and say, maybe when you're out of it, you can print another statement and say, I'm no longer hungry. And that should be it. So if I execute this again, it should go ahead and tell you all of those things. And I am no longer hungry because you're done printing everything. Does that help?
And you've eaten all that, so
I'm telling you.
if you're still hungry, that is a problem.
If you're still alive, I don't know how the toilet is going to receive you. All right, Miss Angie, you have a question?
No, you just answered the question.
Okay.
The one for the chop and the food. So I was trying to confuse the statement, but you just answered.
Yeah, that gets really tricky. That gets really tricky for some people because most of the time you say somebody will have 4i in foods. That's going to work just fine. Just know that instead of chop in here now, you have to have I. But instead of using I is usually an iteration, right? It's not useful to use those words that are not mnemonic because the more you look at it, it will not help you. Sometimes people usually would use food for food in foods, where one is a singular, another is a plural. You just want to make sure that you read it clearly. Okay, or you can say, okay, for a plate in foods, then you know, okay, for each plate, I like that plate, I like the other plate, and so on and so forth. Just use words that will help you so that when you read it, it sounds just like English. Okay, same with the while loop. Okay, in the while loop, you're going to say while your counter is greater than 0, print the counter, update the counter, and then go back again and do the same thing until you're done. You print done. Sounds good? Question, Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, I see you commented that while loops are kind of infinite and you have to avoid them. But I think there are situations where you cannot do that. So I was playing with a few code here. What I was trying to do was to have a user, enter 3 different numbers, and after the 3 trials, if they're not able to enter an even number, then it breaks and tell them, hey, you've done your 3 trials and then you failed the test, right? And
exactly.
I wasn't sure if in that situation you can use a for loop because I wasn't able to use a for loop in that situation.
Very, very good, very good. So that's a good example. So our goal here is to get the user to enter 3 numbers, right?
Yes, to enter number to do 3 times to enter
to enter 3 guesses. Let me put
exactly. Yes.
So and they should be numbers, right?
They should be numbers.
Awesome. So what you need to do then now is that number of guesses is 3. So you need to set it up ahead of time. Once you've set up your number of guesses as 3, you go ahead and use your for loop because it has to run just 3 times. Okay. So you say for number of guesses. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Well, let me explain this one to you anyway. It's something that I didn't want to go through it, but it's what you use is a range. There's a function in Python that is known as a range. So let's say for number in range usually takes a number in it. So if I say range 5, it means it's going to run 5 times. But now I know that I want it to run the number of guesses. So I'm going to use for range number of guesses. Does that make sense? So it's going to run 3 times. So let's make it simple here and just print. Say print number of guesses left, right? And then we'll have number of guesses. Come on, there you go. So that's what it's going to print. But before we print it, the first time it's going to print 3, right? When it prints 3, we now say input. Let's say the guess maybe will now be equal to an integer input. Enter your guess, right? So with that, you should be able to get them to enter a guess. You convert it to an input, and it's going to be your guess. Once you've done that, you need to update your number of guesses.
Yeah. So in this case, it's going to be number of guesses plus 1.
So minus equal to 1.
Yeah, minus 1. Yeah.
So this is one of those. Let me make this bigger. This is one of those ways that you can update it, but let's not do that. Let's make sure it's clean for each one of us to understand. The number of guesses minus 1. Your number of guesses left now will be 2.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and maybe print again after you've guessed. Let's go ahead and print. Let's say you guessed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's going to keep running, and then also you want to maybe at the end of the day tell them that, hey, all done. Here you define the number of guesses you want to be 3.
Yeah.
They're going to guess 3 times. Now, if you want to check if it's even or odd, somewhere in here, you're going to need to say, okay, if the number is divisible by 2, then tell them, yeah, you won. Your guess is good. If not, so again, piece by piece, you eventually get to your solution. But let's try running this one out and see. So number of guesses left, it tells us is 3. Let's enter our guess, 15. Now it's asking again, you guess 15. Number of guesses left now is 2. Enter your guess, 5. You guess 5. Number of guesses left, 2. Enter your guess, 33. Guess 33, and it's all done.
Yeah, I think this is good because I started with counter equal. So number of again, I started with the counter at 0, and then I increased the counter while using the while loop. So by the time I go to 3, and if all the entries were not divisible by 2, right? Then
Yeah.
Okay, it's cool.
Good. So you can, if you want to specify that, hey, they have only 3 guesses, then it's good to use a for loop and then use that range. We're going to talk about range at the end of the day to do that. Otherwise, if you want them to keep guessing until the end of time, then you can change that to say, while your guess is not an even number, keep guessing. And then maybe you want to count how many tries it took you to guess the right number, and so on and so forth. So there are fun games that you can make with Python. Again, you can decide and say, okay, this is a guessing game. You decide randomly what number you want them to guess, and then they'll guess that number. If it's too high, it says, oh, your number is too high. They'll guess another number. If it's too low, it says it's too low. You keep going until you get the actual number, and it tells you guess the number in 10 tries, in 5 tries, in 20 tries, and so on. Does that help?
Cool. Yeah.
Excellent. Very good question. I really like that.